Just 2 weeks after finishing up the cleanup of the zone, we are hearing that there are some people that are returning to the zone. People have, I don't know if they're leaving shelters or why they're there, but I want you to hear a couple of things. ABC 15, our news partners at ABC 15, this is a report. People going back to the zone.
The zone looks a lot different. But while the tents may be gone,
the people aren't. The people that are here are hard chargers. This is their life. This is the only thing that they know. So they're going to come back.
Kimberly Brazil moved from the zone into this shelter at 28th Street in Washington earlier this year.
I was there for about 3 months is about all I could handle.
Now in the area that was the zone, she's back.
Unfortunately, I feel safer on the outside than I do on the inside.
So Rachel Milne from the city of Phoenix confirms they're talking about people that are moving back.
Certainly, we have had individuals too who have returned to homelessness, who the shelter placement was not the right placement for them.
The city of Phoenix's Office of Homeless Solutions tells ABC 15 they brought nearly 600 people into shelter, a small minority of which have made their way back outside, with hotspots around the city.
So right now our focus is really those areas just outside of downtown, just outside of the Human Service Campus area.
Our cameras found dozens outside the Human Services campus.
So when you watch how this is rolling out, we all understand that this is not this is a multifaceted issue. It is not just about people on the street and whatever your view of homelessness is probably a very narrow view of it. Whatever it is, if your view of homelessness is someone standing at an intersection with a sign asking for money, if your view of homelessness is shopping carts and tents on sidewalks, all of this is accurate, but it is also a very narrow view of things. Down there where the zone is also in that area is Central Arizona Shelter Services. It is where people that are homeless can go to multiple agencies for services. They get medical care at Circle the City, cast themselves and what they do with water and shelter. And then you've got St. Vincent de Paul is on campus there. They feed meals there, hot meals at their kitchen. There's a lot of different services that are down there for people, which is why it's kind of a magnet. But what you're looking at is there's a difference. When you give someone a lifeline, when there is someone out there, whatever their circumstances are, that are trying to get out of a bad situation, and you offer them a way out, those people will grab onto that way out. They will say, "This is what my problem is. I've had a couple of tickets that I've gotten or whatever, that misdemeanors that I couldn't pay, obviously because I'm homeless and I don't have a job. So my driver's license, my privileges have been suspended, so I can't even get a job and go to work." And there's a lot of things that they can do to try to help those people when a person gets out of that financial situation. If there's somebody that has gotten themselves in trouble with addiction issues and they say that, I'm ready, and they get into some kind of a program so that they can kick the habit that they have and get back into the mainstream. There are others that are mentally ill, and the mental illness coupled with self-medication with illicit drugs is a whole different set of issues. But you have a segment of society that is going to say, "I don't want help." How do we address that issue? We've talked about this so many times. You have got to segment who the people are out there. And then there's also a minimum level of behavior that's expected of people. In Oregon, what they did in Oregon was they had a pilot program where they suspended or they decriminalized drugs like heroin and illicit drugs like that. And they have had an explosion of addiction and overdoses and people living in the streets, and it just looks horrible. The problem is what you're doing is you're saying to them, we are going to give you permission to do these things without any repercussions. We're going to set up places for you to get Narcan. We're going to set up places for you to do your drugs out in the open. You're not going to go to jail. But if something bad happens to you medically, we're going to care for your medical issues, and we're going to do these things. I am not a heartless person. But when you say to someone, we are going to allow you to do things that you know are bad for you, and there are not going to be any personal repercussions, we're creating part of the problem. We're enabling, which if anybody's ever dealt with someone that has an addiction, enabling is a big issue. What happens here in Phoenix, I'm waiting to see. How does Phoenix PD handle this now that judges have spoken? If you're someone that's on the streets, you have my respect as a human being. I've told the story many times. I have a cousin who died homeless in Vegas, and we were so close as children. And when I would see him in Vegas, I'd offer him help. I'd give him money when I saw him. I'd buy him lunch or dinner, and we'd go hang out. And it was like being with my cousin again. And then he was back out on the streets because that was his choice. He even said that out loud. His choice to be out on the streets. But helping him, I would have loved to have helped him. So would his sister who lived in Vegas. He didn't want the help, and he died. So to me, there's a face and a name to homelessness. But if the Phoenix Police Department doesn't enforce laws and doesn't make sure that everybody obeys a certain minimum behavior, you can't relieve yourself on the street. You can't use drugs. You can't leave paraphernalia on the ground. You can't commit crimes. And you have to enforce laws. It's the only way you're going to moderate this with people that are on the streets. If there's options for them to go somewhere and they don't take it, the other course is not going to be very good for them.